So our group discussed telling the story, introducing Maker Faire, and creating brand understanding in new markets. Since I'm from Norway, which is not that English-speaking country, I really know these challenges very well. So our group had a very wide discussion. It ranged, as I guess many groups have. It's kind of hard to summarize this because there were so many different interesting discussions going on. But I'll try to do my best and help you out, Sabrina, if I lose some points here. So I think the discussion started out with some of the core values of what Maker Faire is all about. Because at least my experience is that if you know what Maker Faire is, it's really easy to kind of say, yeah, it's about making stuff and showing what you have made and stuff like that. And all the people who have been to Maker Faire, they will understand what you're talking about. But if you have never been to a Maker Faire, you don't have any idea about what it's about. It's kind of hard to explain with words. So I think one of our conclusions is that since this is all, it's about physical experiences, you have to kind of show it, not just tell, but you have to show what it's all about. So using visual aids like films and pictures are really important in the communication. So some of the core values here, Maker Faire is about invention, creativity, and resourcefulness. That's from the playbook, I think. It's the celebration of the amateur. It's about the process. It's not about the product, it's about the process. It's a feast of, it's not about innovation, it's about invention. So it's important to keep in mind what Maker Faire is and what it's not in the communication, so you cannot kind of lose the core values when you're making the Maker Faire. But some people mentioned that earlier today as a real challenge. Where professional kind of took over the festival. So it's very important to keep that in mind and to be clear about that in the communication. So it's not a trade show, and it's not a craft fair. It's about the amateurs showing what they do and the joy of doing and making. So we try to come up with some new definitions about the Maker Faire. It's an emphasis on the cross-section between open source software and hardware. It's about physical experiences and face-to-face experiences. We also had a little discussion about the contrast. Everybody are talking about the apps. There's an app for everything. The Maker Faire is not an app. It's a physical experience. That's one of the core values. Okay. We showed this short movie here, an advertisement for Smoke in the Maker Faire. We made a smoke can. That's one way of making interests in the festival. You can make an attraction, so people will come for attraction. It can be easier sometimes to kind of show maybe one maker's fantastic creation and tell people to come and see that instead of showing the whole festival, which is kind of more challenging to communicate with people who don't have any clues about what it's all about. Okay.
So a corollary of that was mentioned that we didn't capture was Sabrina recommended funding an incredible anchor maker, or do, which I think feeds into what you just talked about, which is to find something that you can focus in that can become a focus point for your event, like your smoke cannon.
Yes.
The other part of that was if you didn't have the resources to create an exhibit that, focusing on the headliner and being able to tell that story of a maker is another way of doing versus talking. Depicting a maker, sharing a maker story almost explains what Maker Faire is about. And then if you combine that with juxtaposition, the next maker is someone doing something completely different than the person before. And then again, something completely different than the person before. Then you start to tell the story of Maker Faire just through your makers.
And based on that, one of the attractions could of course be a young maker. Find that one young maker that makes incredible stuff and use it in the media against the media, and they will come and make things. You got the press there, and they'll put out things in the newspaper and television and stuff like that. So you can do that before the event, and you have a good teaser. Yes. There's a lot of wishes to Sabrina about things that she should do in order to make things easier for us. And I think she will say a few words about that later on. But I think the conclusion is that people are different, and also there are cultural differences. And since this is starting to become a worldwide event, it's not just about personal differences, but also cultural.
Yeah, Dale, they want us to nail down a very distinct vision statement and tell it to be very fixed.
Shakes.
Change year to year a little bit, iterate like any maker.
But we have some suggestions that you probably will look into, hopefully.
There was just things like a press kit template. We do have those. We do have the ammunition kit in the Dropbox, which has the press kit from last year, and also the white paper that was from the Harbor Innovation Workshop last year. It is an ammunition kit, but to distill that down, even get some quotes that would be valuable for the different audiences that you're trying to reach. So the makers are a different audience than the sponsors, and they're a different audience possibly than the media. So doing pull quotes that really drive or attract or deliver whatever you want to those particular people, like Steve Jobs might be, or a quote from a maker to a maker, or a quote from the head of Intel why they sponsored Maker Faire to your sponsor targets. That kind of thing would be helpful.
Yeah, so we want David Lang from Google to just say that, yeah, of course, we have to sponsor Maker Faire because blah, 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 blah. And you can take that citation to the sponsors in your local sponsors, and they'll say, oh yeah, okay, if he does it, we have to do it, So if you're not at Maker Faire, you're nowhere.
That's right.